Add sparkle to any design. Check, 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 check. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, okay. Why do I feel like something's blocked off, isn't it? Let's try that. Let's find where it's at right now. Trying to figure out where the actual feed is at. It has been a little bit of a struggle right now, but I know we'll find it. Okay, is this it? TV. No matter what, we'll find it. Why don't I hear something? Oh, that's why. We'll find it. We'll get there. I'm not too concerned about it. Maybe in like 5 minutes I will. Is this it? Alright, I'm gonna get all 3 of these ready to go, just in case. Fox 59, we got Wish TV, and we got Indie Star. So somebody's gonna be posting it. So I'm very curious of how this whole thing is going to turn out because Donald Rainwater will be there, and he was on Robin Casey yesterday at 11 o'clock. Hopefully some of you watched it. And he didn't do that great. He was very lethargic. It seemed like he had brain fog, and I don't know if he was just off his mannerisms because Rob was there, and I would have to say they're probably friends. And, it was kind of the same stuff, but I think he needed to fine-tune it because Rob was calling him out about his tax plan, but then he brought up J.D. Prescott's tax plan, and he's like, we're going to have them on the show next week and talk about this whole thing. And what I didn't understand was why it was a good tax plan. It said it would replace the property taxes. Well, that's because you're adding another tax then to services, but they're excluding them, like I think it's healthcare, like dentistry. I'm not exactly sure what all of them are. I'm vaguely keeping an eye on it. Alright, is this it? Maybe. That's 52 seconds. Broadcast live statewide. I mean, no matter what, we're gonna find where it's coming from. No matter what. We're all gonna be there. Hashtag ink of debate. Oh, here we go. All right, I think we got it. I think we found a live stream. I think we're good now. Oh, okay, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good now. I think we're good. We're gonna find out pretty quick.
Ahead of itself, taking on a robust Royals team who...
Okay. Don't worry, I'll enlarge that when the time comes. So Andre Carson had was supposed to have a town hall today. Well, I was going to join it and see what was going on. And guess what happened? It didn't happen. He tried doing live streaming like 3 or 4 times. And his helper, who is Caroline Ellert, I think that's how, or Eckert, Ellert. If you forgot, that is the same woman with the one out of the 2 women that Thomas Cook was sexually harassing. Oh, here we go, boys.
Statewide in the race for Indiana governor. Everything is in place and ready to go. You can watch that debate live here on Wish TV, wishtv.com, and our network of stations across Indiana.
He's like 6'5". So, but they tried doing the stream like 4 times, and it was only lasting like anywhere from 20 seconds to like 40 seconds. Did not end well, and so we were just all like, hey, man, where's the stream at? You're at this level of the game where you've been in federal office for this many years, and you can't even figure out how to do Zoom or StreamYard or something. I mean, look at me, where I'm at, what I'm doing. I'm just on a YouTube right now, in front of my makeshift stuff. What's going on here? It looks like it's something out of a squalor. That's not the word I'm looking for, though. Some like Slumdog Millionaire stuff. Oh. Alright, let's turn that off, because we are probably minutes away now. I need to grab a pen. You up.
Visit onewatchsecure.com for more info.
Right now at Old National, we've got this incredible checking offer.
Huh. Hey. Hi. What?
He's here for the checking.
I love checking. Okay. You know what? For a bonus that big, fine. Bring on the checking.
Oh, it's not that type of checking. You just download the app.
Yeah, no, I'm stretching. Where do I sign?
Earn up to a $450 bonus when you open a checking account at Old National, official bank of the Big Ten.
Gotta say, Having an Old National commercial banker makes all the difference.
He anticipates what we need when we need it, like this warehouse expansion loan.
Like the equipment leasing for our production line. It's almost like John loves the gourmet pasta business more than we do.
La nuova tesseratura ha resi il processo molto più efficiente.
I didn't know John spoke Italian.
He does now.
Commercial bankers who love your business almost as much as you do. Another reason to get old.
All right, check here. Good there. I guess we're gonna see how bad it is, huh? Could be good, could be bad. Who knows?
Selecting Indiana's next governor, Republicans have maintained the highest office for the last 20 years. But is it time for a change?
I think we need to get back to the idea in Indiana that we vote for the best person for the job, not the best professional organization.
An election that comes at a polarizing time.
People don't want fear and chaos. We want someone who will approach the State House with balance in a bipartisan way, who will stay focused on the issues that impact our daily lives.
Who will earn Indiana's top job?
I hope you challenge me. I'll be challenging you, and we're going to take this state to a place we've never seen before.
Now, Indiana's best political team takes your questions straight to the candidates to get the answers you want before casting your ballot.
From Wish TV, the home of Indiana's best political team, this is an all-Indiana politics special. The Indiana Governor Debate.
And you are looking live inside the Wish TV studios in downtown Indianapolis right now, where the three candidates for Indiana governor are sharing the same stage for the first time in this campaign. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Phil Sanchez.
And I'm Dakari Turner. Wish TV is proud to host this debate tonight, just days before early voting begins in Indiana. We are also live on affiliate stations around the state. We want to welcome in our candidates tonight.
Mike Braun is the Republican nominee for governor. He's a business owner from Jasper, Indiana, who served in the Indiana General Assembly and for the past 6 years has been in the United States Senate. Jennifer McCormick is the Democratic nominee for governor. She has been a lifelong educator and served 4 years as the state superintendent of public instruction. Donald Rainwater is the Libertarian nominee for governor. He's a lifelong Hoosier who served 8 years in the U.S. Navy and was the party's nominee for governor in 2020 as well.
We want to make sure you understand the rules for tonight's debate. News 8's government and politics reporter Garrett Berquist explains them for us.
Phil and Dakari, we've invited all three candidates who qualified for the November ballot. Each candidate will have up to 60 seconds to answer the questions, and we may offer rebuttals of up to 30 seconds per question. The candidates have not been given the questions or the topics. They've only been told that the questions will pertain to the campaign for governor. The candidates have agreed that there will be no opening statements, but each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Garrett, thank you very much. We held a draw last week to determine podium position and question order. We want to start tonight with property taxes, and a question for all three of our candidates tonight. Indiana homeowners have experienced skyrocketing property tax bills over the past few years, in large part due to the spike in home prices. I want to get a show of hands right now from you on this question. Raise your hand if you support cutting or reducing Indiana's property taxes as governor. And I want to point out that all three candidates did raise their hand. Mr. Braun, we start with you. What specifically would you do to lower property taxes, and how would you replace funding for schools and local police and fire service?
Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. I visit all 92 counties every year, and starting at least a couple years ago, people were complaining about it. And of course, it started when we were hit with record inflation. And we had a system in place that could have worked until that came along. The circuit breakers that were put in place by the Daniels administration just weren't doing the job. So I was the first to come out with a policy because you heard it all the time. And what I heard mostly is that those most vulnerable on property taxes going out of range, young couples, elderly, were having trouble paying their property taxes. So if we don't get them under control, reset them, which my plan does, back to where they were before they did go out of control, cap them in terms where your bill can't go up any more than 2% for young and elderly couples, 3% for everyone else, transparency, and have referenda that are done in a general election, not a slow election.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds to you. Same question.
Hello, Hoosiers. Yes, I know property taxes are a huge concern because I'm a fifth-generation farm family. I am a teacher. I am a businesswoman. I am also a Hoosier. I am a wife, and I am a military mom. And I certainly know that property taxes are weighing on everyone. I'm also a homeowner, and I was your last elected state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican. So I also know, too, the role that property taxes play. I am proud of our common sense property tax plan that we put out that really gave a savings to all Hoosiers. And we approached it in a way that would be bipartisan. So we took the best of the best bipartisan language that was already established by Republicans and Democrats in the General Assembly. And we used that language. We already have fiscal, so it's ready on day one to give relief to all Hoosiers, particularly our seniors and our veterans. And we plan to save $660 million in the process and save our local governments.
Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Rainwater, same question to you, sir. 60 seconds.
So, Senator Braun, I apologize for having to correct you right away, but actually 4 years ago, while you were in Washington, D.C., being a U.S. Senator, and I debated Governor Holcomb, I promoted the idea that we should, first of all, cap property taxes at 1% of the purchase price of the property, and it should never go up because your property taxes should not go up. You should not be taxed on the unrealized gains in your property's value increasing. And then I also said that we should limit that to 7 years. And that was in 2020. So I actually came up with the plan first because I recognized many years ago as a Hoosier homeowner that property taxes were spiraling out of control.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, 30 seconds on rebuttal. Would you like to comment?
In terms of a plan that has been fleshed out recently that actually had some real effort put into in terms of what would be reasonable and practical, also to where it was going to make sure local governments and school districts had enough to keep growing. It addressed the most critical issue, reset it before we got inflation from D.C. by the current administration, and when we did that, it's a plan that'll work into the future.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, your hand is up. 30 seconds. Rebuttal.
Fellow Hoosiers, I just want to make sure that you're aware that Mr. Braun has no idea how much effort I put into my plan, or how much planning I've done, or what I've considered as far as the things such as TIF districts and 10-year tax abatements that we currently give corporations in the state of Indiana when considering how we can fund local government. He has no idea.
Not a good answer.
Cutting property taxes. Go ahead.
Sure. Our plan was so well received because it offered a relief to Hoosiers immediately, but also protected our local levels. We don't want to defund the police and our schools and our libraries and our parks and our fire. Senator Braun's plan came after that local level and farmers. And so he had to come back out with Plan 2.0. I'm not sure what plan we're on. It's kind of like commercials. We just keep redoing them. But, you know, our plan was well received. It is full of common sense, and we're ready to add that relief that Hoosiers so desperately need.
Candidates, thank you very much. We have a lot to get to tonight. We have to move
all
on.
those answers sucked.
Thanks, Bill.
Why don't you
Let's
tell the
turn
reason
now
why
to
they won? I'll tell you
Immigration
after
and
this,
the
though.
southern U.S. border have been a hot-button topic in both local and national political conversation. So our question to you is this: what should be the role of Indiana state government in addressing it? Ms. McCormick, we start
Ship
with you.
them
60
out.
seconds.
Ship them
Sure,
out.
thank you for the question. Illegal immigration is certainly a concern for the federal government. It needs to be solved at the federal level, and what we have seen is a lack of a willingness for decades to solve the problem. And unfortunately, we had a common sense, very bipartisan immigration border bill that was put up in D.C., and even the Border
Braun better
Patrol
do better at
supported it,
answering
and
this.
Senator Braun voted against it. So those protections that would have helped Indiana, he voted against. In addition, we need to embrace legal immigration and making sure that we establish utilizing that in a strong economy. 6% of our population are here legally, and they play a huge piece of our tax issues. They are over $4 billion that they play into the taxes we receive and are a critical part of our economy.
Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, same question to you, 60 seconds.
Absolutely. So, first of all, as a libertarian, I believe that the role of the governor of the state of Indiana is to enforce the rule of law in the state of Indiana. We have state laws and state regulations, and we need to follow them. More importantly, at the federal level, we have a complete failure of our federal government. Both the Republicans and the Democrats have failed to enforce their constitutional mandate to manage immigration. And we need for both sides of the aisle, if you will, to do what's best for us everyday average Hoosiers and handle the immigration issue instead of making it a political football.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Mr. Braun, the question to you now.
So this one is very simple. Under the Trump administration, we had taken illegal immigration to record lows. As soon as the Biden-Harris administration got in there, it was open borders. And the consequences of that has been chaos, making every state a border state. Not to mention that in the process of it, 100,000 fatalities due to fentanyl, which the cartels bring across an open border. The national security issue of all the folks that are coming in under that policy that was working so well before is really a tragedy for this country. I won't go through the crimes that even come here to Indiana. We hear it all the time. And the presidential candidate, Harris, was the border czar. She's got to make that litigation of why the border was that porous and why we've got the consequences from it.
Okay, I see we have two hands up. Mr. Rainwater, we'll start with you. 30 seconds.
You know, I hear Senator Braun say it's a simple solution.
It is.
My question is, if the man has been a U.S. Senator for the last 6 years, why hasn't he solved it then?
Because he's not in charge.
Why is it that he thinks that he can do more as governor of the state of Indiana to solve the immigration problem when it is a federal constitutional issue than he can as a U.S. Senator?
Oh, my God.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you.
This is kind of
Ms.
pathetic
McCormick,
from Rainwater.
30 seconds to you.
Again, it goes back to Senator Braun was in D.C., and Mr. Rainwater is correct that he had time to fix it. And when he was presented with a bipartisan bill that was put forth by some of the most Republican conservative congressional people, he voted no. And the perception in Indiana is he voted no for political reasons versus the safety of Hoosiers and the safety of Americans. The other piece of it in that bill had a huge piece for fentanyl detection, which we desperately need here in Indiana, and he voted no.
Mr. Braun, I see you have your hand up.
Very simple. I don't think any Hoosier would be for making it legal that you could have 5,000 illegal immigrants coming across the border daily. It was way, way lower than that, probably 10 to 20% of it when Trump had the border under control. The fact that it was opened and it was done under the same legislative platform that was in place with Trump, Biden-Harris responsible for it. That bill only had 3 Republican supporters because no one was for it for the reason I just said.
Don't worry, we're going to talk about this when it's all done.
Corey, thank you very much. We turn now to abortion tonight. Indiana was the first state to pass a near-total ban on abortions after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Do you believe Indiana should add additional restrictions on abortion, repeal the new law, or keep things as they are now? Mr. Rainwater, we start this question with you. 60 seconds, sir. Go ahead.
As a pro-life libertarian, I believe, first of all, that the governor's office needs to, once again, invoke the rule of law. It is the governor's job to execute the laws in the state of Indiana. The legislature is required to pass the laws, and then because we have a three-branch government, the judicial branch is to determine if the law is constitutional. If there are changes that need to be made to the current law, then the judicial branch needs to determine if there is a constitutional question, and the legislature, which each one of you as Hoosiers can reach out to your legislator and let them know what you think they need to do to make the law better, if in case you feel it needs to be. Thank you.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, should Indiana change its abortion laws? 60 seconds, sir.
So when Roe versus Wade was overturned and brought back to the states, it's where it should have been in the first place. And our legislature took that issue up and got with their own constituents, the citizens of this state, and it's a pro-life state. They crafted a bill that's got reasonable exceptions that mustered not only the legislative process, but even the courts. So when it was put together, it was vetted with the people of our state. And the people of our state are pro-life. So I think they did a good job. It was reasonable in the way it was constructed.
On. It's like when,
and I think
where's
it's
the line at?
Through the courts.
That's all you got to ask.
It reflects that idea that you're probably never going to get anything done at the national level. I couldn't imagine 60 senators agreeing on that issue. That is a false premise. If you say any side, Democrat or Republican, will do it nationally, thank goodness it came back to the states.
Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds to you. Should Indiana change its abortion laws?
Yeah, so obviously I'm the only female on the stage. I'm the only person who has been pregnant, who has given birth. I am a mom, and I'm a proud military mom. What I will say is I trust women. And I trust our healthcare providers. And this topic is so complex. And I think it's so interesting that men are the ones telling women what we can and cannot do with our bodies. And Senator Braun is saying, you know, bring it to the people and let us have our voice. Let's do it. Put it to a ballot initiative. Let's start it. Let's see what happens.
I knew that's where she was going with it.
Nation, Americans have talked. Hoosiers don't have that option. So we rely on a governor who will fight for women in order to give us a voice. 60% of Hoosiers believe in allowing women to make the decisions about their health care. It is that simple. My opponent's ticket has said no exemptions for rape, no exemptions for incest. Senator Braun said he thinks we got it right. We need to go back to the standards of Roe and trust our women. And Hoosiers, I have your back on this.
Mr. Braun, she brought up your name. I'll go to you in a second. But first, Mr. Rainwater, I saw your hand was up. 30 seconds on rebuttal.
Fellow Hoosiers, I just want to point out two things. First of all, I know many Hoosiers, lifelong Hoosiers, who are pro-choice. So, and I've never read anywhere in our state constitution where it declares that Indiana is a pro-life state. I don't know where Senator Braun gets that from. But I also know many women in the state of Indiana, lifelong Hoosiers, who are pro-life. So when Dr. McCormick makes it sound like all men are evil and that only women should speak on this issue, I do trust women as well, and there are many women who tell me that they're pro-life and that they agree with the current bill.
Unfortunately, Mr. Rainwater, your time is up there, 30 seconds. Ms. McCormick, I will let you respond, but Mr. Braun, go ahead and give your rebuttal, 30 seconds.
Well, I think I made it clear. We took it to our state legislature, took it up.
Oh, God,
they vetted
he
it
is
carefully.
so bad at this.
In terms of whether we're a pro-life state or not, those issues you're going to have to get from listening to your constituents. And I think if the legislators had put it through, they did that. It was held up in the courts, and it reflects the majority of Hoosiers in this state.
Ms. McCormick, 30 seconds on rebuttal.
Yeah, at no time have I ever said that all men are evil. I've got a wonderful son, and I'm sure he's watching. I hope he has
acting like they are.
studying to do. I also have an amazing husband, an amazing dad, an amazing brother, and lots of nephews, and a lot of friends. I never said that. I would never make that accusation, ever. But what I will say is I trust women. And when I trust women, if that equates to the people on this stage that I said that men are horrible people, that should tell you something.
Candidates, thank you very
Jeez.
much.
She has
Turn now
no
to
emotional
education and
control at
specifically
all.
School vouchers. Indiana has increased income eligibility, now more than $220,000 for a family of 4. State numbers also show that last year, 45% of vouchers went to families making more than $100,000, and that the state paid more than $439 million in voucher payments, money pulled away from the state's public schools. So our question is this. Do you believe the voucher system is helping or hurting the education of Indiana's children? Mr. Braun, we start with you.
So to me, that's clear. We are a state that has been on the leading edge of choice and competition, and also putting the parent as the main stakeholder in his or her kid's education. That's the way it should be. When you have a one-size-fits-all, it's called a monopoly. I happen to come from a great public school district. My wife and I went there, our kids went there, and our grandkids are going there. Not all places have that same advantage. So if you're not for choice, competition, vouchers to make it doable, it's not a zero-sum game. We have enabled public school systems every year to have more resources, money following the kid, not the building. That was smart when that was done years ago. So all in all, choice, competition, parents in the driver's seat.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you for that response there. Ms. McCormick, same question to you.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in Indiana who profess to be education experts, and it's unfortunate because I believe in fiscal responsibility, and I believe if we're going to have a program that puts $1.6 billion into private education, we should be looking at the results, and the results aren't good. It also, make no mistake, this is not about parents choosing. This is about a school choosing. The admission policy.
It's literally about parents choosing.
If I show up with a child and the school does not like the academic performance or the color of their skin or how they identify LGBTQ,
that's illegal.
Take them. Our state constitution is clear. It says to fund common schools, which are determined to be public schools. Public dollars need to go to public schools. That whole program needs to be reviewed. Also, it has not I've not lost sight of, it defines $220,000 for a family of 4 as a threshold of eligibility. And how many families in Indiana can say that they make over $220,000
I bet
for
you
a family
do.
of 4? It is certainly not serving Hoosiers.
Okay. Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, 60 seconds to you. Are school vouchers helping or hurting education?
Well, I believe thoroughly in universal school choice because I've been a parent in Indiana long enough to know that our public school system is failing. When our statewide standardized testing comes back and tells us that only 63% of the children that take the test are successfully doing well enough in math and English. When I went to school in Indiana, 63% was a failing grade. And we are spending almost 60% of our state budget on education. And yes, the state constitution says that the state will fund common schools. It does not say that the state cannot fund other schools. Every Hoosier is paying taxes in the state of Indiana, and every Hoosier should get the benefit of that money. There is no such thing as public money. It's your money. They took it from you.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Ms. McCormick, I saw your hand up first. I'll call on you 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just want to address the piece of performance. So Indiana schools have been under different standards in which we are responsible to teach kids as a moving target. We keep changing those standards because we've had 20 years of one-party rule. And it doesn't make a whole lot of common sense when we keep changing those standards before we know how we're performing. We also keep changing the test. And every time we do that, you're talking $40 million. So it's a waste of money. It's highly inefficient, and we really don't have good trend data to even decide what is and what is not working.
Thank you. Mr. Braun, we'll go to you next. 30 seconds.
I want to give a real-world example of why we kind of have choice and options. Small county next to where I live, Pike County, many years ago had mismanagement within the school district. The solution, 3 grade schools in a large county geographically. The one with the best performance was shut down to save money. Had it not been for the availability of a charter school, you would have had to bus those kids 20 to 30 minutes additionally. They are thriving now because they had the option and the parents went for it.
Mr. Braun, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, we'll go to you. 30 seconds.
I just want to point out that Dr. McCormick makes the point that the test has changed. As a matter of fact, when she was state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican from 2016 to 2020, if I remember correctly, not only did the test change a couple of times during her tenure, but she had to say, hey, the test results aren't what we expected, aren't what we want, so we're not going to use them for a couple of years here. And that was a waste of millions
your time is
of
expired.
taxpayer
Thank you.
dollars.
Oh, Rainwater
We have
based.
hands up, but we do have a lot to get to tonight.
No,
Phil.
I got to address this. As state superintendent, I don't set policy. I implement. I wasn't the one responsible to change the state law to make us keep changing standards and keep changing assessment. That's not fair and it's not accurate. That's on the 20 years of Republicans leading our state.
Okay, Mr. Braun, 15 seconds to you.
So again, if you were in charge there for 4 years and results never got any better, I think you got to be held accountable when that's the one thing you did in state government. You can try to litigate it on why things weren't working. All I say is that has got to be.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Rainwater, 15 seconds to you.
Huh?
15, we're going to ask you 15 seconds if you would like to rebut anything either of the candidates said.
No, I think we've said enough.
Okay, thank you. We do have a lot to get to tonight. Phil.
We do have a lot to get to tonight. Candidates, sit tight. You're watching this All Indiana Politics special from Wish TV. Stick with us. We will be right back after the break.
Okay, well, that is so far very interesting. This is oh my God. See, this is why Democrats are afraid to afraid to have me debate Justin Moed, because he would get completely slaughtered. I could slaughter all 3 of these people right now. Braun doesn't have any energy right now. It's the same talking points. I thought that he would have had at least a little bit of adjustment from last night, but so far nothing. Rainwater's flubbing bad, and Jessica McCormick has no emotional control right now. She is just all over the place. And if any of you watched last night's debate, she kept losing her mind because Micah Beckwith called her a Jezebel. And then today, she was bragging about being called a Jezebel because now there's merch. And, oh crap, it is Jennifer McCormick. Whatever. Cut from the same people. Yeah. Look at this. Now there's merch, and now she's like, oh, look at this. Now it's so cute. Ha, 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 ha. Or before last night, she was like, Micah Beckwith needs to apologize. Mike Braun, you need to apologize, too. This is unacceptable. No one should ever call me a Jezebel. She was losing it. But now, after she got some nom-noms in her belly, now that her tummy's full, now she's feeling so much better. Now there's like, hey, maybe you should lean into it a little bit and make some money off the merch. But she obviously couldn't figure that one out. Crap.
At One Watch Solutions, we don't believe in one-size-fits-all security.
Okay, we're still
Instead,
good.
we offer custom security solutions designed.
So yeah, Braun needs to step the game up. He had so many chances to be like, well, especially about abortion, which we'll talk about after the debate. Though I'm taking a lot of notes right now on things that they should have done. Rainwater's flubbing up a little bit. I don't know what his deal is. He did the same thing yesterday during Rob and Casey.
We've got this incredible checking offer.
Hey. Hi.
What? He's here for the checking.
I love checking.
Start this. See what happens. Hope I didn't mess this up. Crap. Still good? Still good? Still good there. Okay, cool. Okay, we're back.
For Indiana governor's debate, we want to get right back to our
Not gonna lie, I was kind of sweating that
starting
one.
with marijuana policy. Dakari.
Phil, thank you. I want you to take a look at the map behind me. We've highlighted the state of Indiana. Here you can see that plainly in red. That is a state where many of us know, all of us know, of course, that marijuana usage is illegal. We're broadening it out to the entire nation. Other states in red, you can see also.
Got me Jolly Ranchers right here.
Is legal. What I want you to focus on next are the blue states. That is where marijuana use is legal for medical purposes.
Look at that, surrounded by degenerates right now. Hold the line, Indiana. Hold it. We can't let our state fail. Otherwise, we're going to become just like California. A bunch of functional morons that are jerking off out in public and basically being a bunch of drugged up zombies.
Or both. Ms. McCormick.
We already know the answers.
Yes, so 80% of the Hoosiers, I hear you, and we released our common sense cannabis plan where we made it clear that we would start out with medical use, have a commission, get the medical use, get a well-regulated industry so we are not sloppy with it. We can learn from other states who have implemented what they did well, what they did not do well, making sure that law enforcement is at the table for those conversations so it is a very inclusive conversation to hear their concerns. There are a lot of opportunities with this from the medical piece because I've talked to a lot of Hoosiers that are wanting that option for the medical treatment in which they deserve and which they want. The other piece of that is then moving right into adult use. It is a conservative estimate, $177 million that we're leaving on the table when we are an island, as you saw on the map, with everyone around us who is legalizing. Everyone in Indiana is already using. So not everyone, but a lot of people in Indiana are using. So we also need to be cognizant of its hundreds, if not thousands of jobs that are on the line.
Okay. Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, we turn to you for the same question.
So, fellow Hoosiers, first of all, we have well-regulated tobacco, alcohol, and prescription pharmaceuticals here in the state of Indiana already. We don't need to expand government. We don't need a new commission. We don't need new regulations. We can make cannabis in all forms, medicinal and recreational, legal right now. There's been plenty of study done. As we pointed out, states around us have already done that work. And we have been talking about this for a long time. If legislators are not prepared, that is their fault, and we should probably replace them. We should make this legal now, and as governor, I would make sure that all nonviolent criminal cannabis-related offenses are expunged. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Mr. Braun, same question to you. Where do you stand on legalizing marijuana?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Look at the map. It's cascading across the country. And at some point, when you're surrounded by 4 states, 3 of whom have actually probably one, I think Ohio is in the process of legalizing recreational, you're going to have to address it seriously. I've huddled up with law enforcement, been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, been endorsed by the State Trooper Alliance, and many sheriffs. I'm going to listen to them carefully because whatever we do they're going to be the ones that are going to have to enforce it or put up with the issues around it if you don't get it correct. So I think the time is ripe that we look at it seriously. Medical marijuana has got a lot of attributes to it. I think that's going to happen. It'd be something I'll seriously consider. Again, I'll listen to law enforcement. When it comes to recreational, that's going to cascade across the country as well. I'll think about that. Medical marijuana, I think we're probably ready for it.
Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, I see your hand is up. Same question to you.
Yeah, Mr. Rainwater mentioned the commission, and the commission is incredibly important to get that well-regulated industry right. We still don't have that established for hemp-related products, so we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and this is rolled out in a way that it can be successful. That's why we would take those steps in order to make that necessary push into adult use after medical. The other piece, too, I just have to say it's so interesting to hear Republicans say that they would listen to law enforcement on this, because we certainly didn't do that on permitless carry.
Okay. Ms. McCormick, thank you. Candidates, thank you for your answers.
In your platforms, you each talk about either reducing or restructuring state government. That would imply eliminating or downsizing some agencies. So what specific agency or service would you look to eliminate first, and why? Mr. Rainwater, it's your turn to answer first. 60 seconds to you, sir.
Where's the question?
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is not as much look at eliminating or reducing agencies as identifying money that is actually flying out the back door. You may be aware that it was recently reported that there was $724 million in Medicaid overpayments made that was discovered in 2017 and then basically swept under the rug because they didn't want to go and try to collect that money from the health care companies and the insurance companies that had been overpaid. We need to look at our state government, all 50-some agencies.
That's true.
And we need to identify where we are managing contracts badly, where overpayments exist, where the money is going out the back door, so that we can then determine what we need to do from there.
Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, same question. How would you reduce the size of government? 60 seconds.
Oh, hell yeah. I like
this
question.
For the last 5.5 years, I've been hearing about that as I visit all 92 counties each year. And of all those agencies that Mr. Rainwater referred to, a lot of them have not had the thorough management and have not been gone through in terms of, do we need every employee there? Are we spending the money correctly? It's a $22 billion a year annual budget. Imagine if you could get 5% savings. That is a lot, and that's the way you could pay for a lot of other things you may want to do or reduce taxes in general. I'm guessing there's not an agency there that doesn't have room to be run more efficiently. And for me, I did that for 37 years in a small business, scaling it into a regional and then a national company. That will be easy to do. We'll find those things to reduce costs and actually make them run more efficiently.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds. How would you reduce the size of government?
When I went into the Department of Education, which was one of the larger agencies, we are over half of the state budget as K-12. We went in that transition, and our team did a lot of interviewing and reviewing to see what programs were working and what programs were not, where we were lean and where we were heavy as far as staffing, and we made the appropriate adjustments. I would do that with every single agency. It's about efficiency, it's about effectiveness, but it's also about interagency connectivity. And right now, when you have 20 years of one-party rule, there is crazy enough to think about, but I lived it. There is very little interagency collaboration to get things done. So common sense would tell you, which is why we need to bring that balance back to the State House, that needs to happen across the agencies. It's super interesting that Mr. Braun keeps bringing up his business as an example of how he successfully did it when he had problems with overtime wages that everybody knew about in Jasper, Indiana. But for me, it's about efficiency and effectiveness and making sure that we are being due diligent with taxpayer dollars.
Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, your name was brought up. I'll get to you, but Mr. Rainwater, would you like to go? It's your turn. Would you like to go? Okay, Mr. Braun, then go ahead. 30 seconds,
I said my piece.
So I think this is a place where you've got to look at the experience that you bring to this office. And if you've done that as a career, you've done it on the biggest stage out there where you've been constantly calling the federal government out to get its act in order, and that is a problem with both parties out there. But here, this is something that's practical, and if you've had a record of growing a business, keeping costs under control, it should even be easier in government.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, 30 more seconds.
Yeah, I'm the only candidate here that has been in charge of a state agency, so that experience will serve me well when
And how did that turn out?
And making those decisions about state agencies. We've got a lot of great people in the state of Indiana that work in those state agencies, and they have great ideas. Why would we not listen to them and say, bring some practical solutions to the table, and let's get some savings for Hoosiers?
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, now you do want to rebut, so go ahead, 30 seconds. Sir.
Absolutely. So one thing I do want to point out, in my 25 years as a software engineer, I did spend 6 years with 2 different companies working as a contractor for the state of Indiana, working on software for FSSA, doing software quality assurance for several agencies, and I saw firsthand the bad management, the issues that are going on, and what needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, someone may have years of experience, but when they've never actually fixed anything, that concerns me.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. We have to move on. Thank you. Kari.
Let's go ahead and talk about jobs tonight. A key discussion point over the past few years has been preparing Indiana's workforce of the future. I want to ask you specifically about the state's minority communities. What will you do to get young men and women of color prepared for high-wage jobs in the state? Mr. Braun, that question.
That is super fucking
so I think
racist.
That's going to be applicable across the board. Helping those that have had the most struggle with it. To me,
oh my God!
You simply have to put the priority on it. But until you get
great affirmative
our
action,
system
W.
That's looking at what the high demand, high wage jobs are, and then give that to parents, and make sure for the 150,000 jobs that we have out there that need a better high school training, that you don't stigmatize that and that you balance it out. Think about that. If you'd get those filled, that would be $3 to $4 billion into your economy. You wouldn't be misguiding kids into a bad career that doesn't have a job that you can get in Indiana. So for any segment of our economy, you got to have parents with the proper information, kids guided appropriately into degrees or trades where you can get a job in Indiana, or either they get exported out of state to find one or back in the basement.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, same question to you.
This is where we have to be really smart and use common sense. So our common sense economic development plan touches on this. We've got to be business friendly, but also take care of Hoosiers. And when you're looking at our most at risk areas and communities and where many of our minority families live, we've got to make sure that we are targeting our resources, not just in the job space, but looking at it in a bigger picture. Let's talk about affordable housing. Let's talk about health care access. Let's talk about quality education and quality health care. Let's talk about universal pre-K. Our workforce, regardless of who that is, we must have an educated and healthy workforce. We must have stable families and stable housing so that it betters everyone in the workforce. But we have to target those resources into areas most at need. And I give credit where credit's due. IEDC did a good job on regional grants, but there can be even further bulleting and focusing down even more minute into getting where those services need to go.
Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, the same question to you. What will you do to get young men and women of
I'm
color
totally blanking out of this one
because
this question is so freaking racist.
Well, first of all, we have to recognize the fact that our state and local governments have abandoned many of the areas, whether they be urban or rural, that need the kind of help that we're talking about. If you take tax increment financing districts, for example, they were developed and designed specifically to help areas within the state that were economically disadvantaged. What it has turned into is a free-for-all opportunity to use tax increment financing to gentrify entire municipalities and actually keep minorities in a disadvantaged state. We need to turn that around, and that would be step one.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Each of your candidates, thank you for your responses.
All right, sit tight. We have a lot more to get to tonight. You're watching this All Indiana Politics special.
Oh, good
Wish
God.
TV. We'll take a quick break.
Hey, how are you going to do affirmative action? Listen, listen, white people. You're going to back of the bus for you. Listen, we're only going to focus on the blacks and the minority population. Sorry, white people, we don't care about you anymore, because all of a sudden now everything's about DEI and affirmative action, and meritocracy is dead. I'm sorry. Is my mic still on? Crap. Yeah, okay, good. So lame. Yeah, meritocracy. You know, I remember Doug Carter bitching about permitless carry. I'm sure they're going to talk about guns. So I want to point this out on something that happened between me and old Chucky Harrison. Because I said, why is this problem not... Because obviously Marion County is a shithole because it's run by morons and racist. And I asked Chucky Harrison about... wish I could... What is his Twitter name? Oh, there it is. About why are we not seeing this problem in the outside counties? I said Marion County has this problem, and you can even go back to there we go. And people claiming there's a mistaken judgment too. I know he replied back to me. And he said, God, I know, I don't want to say it because I need to show it. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't want to say it because then they're going to be like, you're racist. I'm like, actually, I'm not. Everybody else is racist. But anyway, I'll find it. But he basically said it's because there's less black people in Hamilton and Johnson County. And I go, really? That's interesting. So what you're saying is... and I didn't say that. Old Chucky Harrison said that. I wish I could find it. Anyway, but I blanked out a couple of times on that question. That was such a dumb question. Oh, maybe. Oh, we back?
We are now in our final minutes, so let's get right back to our questions. Phil.
Yes, Dakari, thank you very much. You know, I want to ask about affordable housing. A new report out this week from the IU Public Policy Institute says Indiana is second worst in the Midwest for affordable rental housing.
Oh, God, I already know
Carmel has announced it will pursue a new plan to build more affordable single-family homes.
There it is.
As
Found
governor, what would you do about affordable housing in the state of Indiana? Ms. McCormick, we start with you this time. 60 seconds.
This is really a huge issue that I hear across the state, not just in big cities, but also in rural areas. I live in Henry County, and we certainly have an affordable housing issue there as well. And I know many communities are working on that. So I commend our local level leaders for doing so and the partners they have with several organizations. But defining what's affordable is also interesting. I've asked some that are working on that, you know, what is the new housing, what is it, you know, what is that price range for that? And many are over $250,000. And I'm not sure that's where we need to
that's
get
actually
for
a good
affordable
question
housing.
from her.
But also, too, our common sense property tax plan was one piece of this to try to keep renters renting where they are and being able to afford it, and also keep homeowners in their homes. And that takes property tax relief. And that's exactly what our property tax relief
back my
plan
money?
did. It's going to benefit everyone, homeowners and also renters, particularly veterans and seniors. Also fair lending practices and making sure that we're bringing partners to the table to have really great solutions.
Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Rainwater, same question. What would you do about affordable housing in our state?
First of all, I think that it makes a lot of sense to say that property taxes are contributing to the lack of affordable housing, especially for renters, because we know that landlords, when their property taxes increase, they pass that on to the renters.
Boom!
The problem is that we're not going to solve the property tax issue by giving tax credits and deductions on your income taxes or limiting the increase after we roll back the property taxes to a previous level. What we've got to do is redo the state constitution, make sure that it's 1% of the purchase price of your property, it never goes up, and that it ends at some point so that you, whether you're a homeowner or a landlord, knows that there is an end date to when you owe property taxes so that you can own your property, and when that happens, renters will benefit from it.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, 60 seconds on this one.
Well, I think that's the one thing that we all three agree on, and I think we held our hand up early. Property taxes have gotten out of line. Remember, mine is a plan that caps it at 3% to where it cannot go up more than that on your bill each year. That's the only one that keeps it to where it cannot be where they're asking you to pay more than the growth of our own economy and your ability to do it. The other issue that's made it more complicated is the inflation that we've inherited from a current administration that has made everything more expensive. I want to cite this one example of an individual I've gotten to know that is put not on multifamily, single family as well, has got the same issue. He has been entrepreneurial. He found the key to actually building an affordable 3-bedroom home on a slab to where you can afford it. You got to get local jurisdictions helping on stubbing in the utilities. To me, I'll try to be entrepreneurial before we try to do anything more through government.
Mr. Braun, thank you very much. We do have time for rebuttal. Ms. McCormick, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Part of the issue with this, too, is wages. We are 47th in the
go.
nation with annual wage growth, and that is a direct reflection of 20 years of one-party rule who don't want to police themselves and who do not want to help Hoosiers. So we've got to get those wages up. The other thing, too, is these gentlemen have property tax plans that would decimate our local governments, and our local governments have said that. Our chambers have said that, and our farmers and our Farm Bureau have said that. And so it's a matter of putting plans out that will, yes, add relief to Hoosiers, but also take care of our local levels. We cannot defund the police and our schools and our parks and our libraries. It just can't happen.
Thank you. 30 seconds to you, Mr. Rainwater. Go ahead, sir.
Two things I want to point out, fellow Hoosiers. First of all, Mr. Braun says that his plan is the only one that would limit the amount that your taxes, property taxes, go up. He's correct, because mine would make sure that your property taxes never go up. Not 2%, not 3%, not at all. The other thing that I want to point out is this. Your property taxes are your money, and local government and state government are addicted to spending your money. Of course they don't want you to get it back.
Thank you very much. 30 seconds is up. Mr. Braun, 30 seconds to you on rebuttal, sir.
So again, the plan that I've got is comprehensive, and it will make sure that homeowners, again, elderly, young, and a couple other categories, get reset to where they were before it all got out of hand. And then it puts a platform in place that's practical. Local governments and school districts are the lifeblood of government in this state. It's where it should be most active. But on the other hand, they got to live within the means of the taxpayer to be able to afford it.
Mr. Braun, thank you very much.
All right, it is now time for closing statements in our Indiana
That's
governor's
it?
debate.
There's not even talking about
Candidate will have up
guns?
to 90
Wow.
seconds for a closing statement. The order was decided by a blind draw last week. We begin our closing statements with Mr. Braun. 90 seconds, sir.
So it's been an honor to serve Hoosiers in the U.S. Senate. did that to where you've got a record to where you've been
this
one of the
debate
most
is
effective
terrible.
senators in the U.S. Senate as a freshman Senate office in areas like education, healthcare, agriculture. Imagine what you can do when you can come back and set the agenda and get along with a legislature that is a supermajority. That means you should get some stuff done. But the idea that you can get things done if you're not generally lined up with them is probably not going to work. I intend to come back, look at every agency, like I said before, be entrepreneurial in terms of doing the things that we need to do to take Indiana to that new horizon, make it a peer state of other entrepreneurial conservative states. I've recently rolled out detailed plans on education, healthcare, agriculture, inflation in the economy, public safety, and quality of life, including rural broadband, many other categories. Look at it, Mike Braun for Indiana.com. If you want someone that's got a proven track record, build a little business into a regional company and a national one, 3 of your 4 kids running it, that's the American dream. That's what I intend to bring to Hoosiers.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Our second closing statement goes to Ms. McCormick. 90 seconds.
Thank you, Wish. Thank you, Phil and Dakari and team. I so appreciate it. Thank you to Mr. Rainwater and Senator Braun for being on the stage as well. Thank you to you, Hoosiers, for taking your time to be informed. Your charge is now go inform others. If you are looking for change, I am ready to bring it. I'm Jennifer McCormick, and I will be your next governor. I am a 5th-generation farm family. I am a teacher. I am a businesswoman. I was your last elected state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican. I am a wife, and I am a proud mom. I also am a Hoosier, and I know we need a governor we can trust and someone who we can like and someone who's going to bring common sense and balance to that state house. We are done with one-party rule. We also need someone who will fight for our freedoms, reproductive freedoms, making sure we have academic freedoms. We deserve that. Everyone that I talk to is ready for that change because we know we deserve a better government than what we have now. I have common sense plans out on education, on utilities, on the economy, on cannabis, on ethics. Go to the website, McCormickforGov.com. Look at those, but I will tell you this is a choice. Do we want extremism? Do we want fear and chaos? Do we want someone who has a ticket that talks about book banning and white Christianism and Jezebel spirits and
she's losing it again,
saying that Fisher's community is grooming kids? Is that what we want? No. We want optimism and opportunity. We want change, and I promise you I will represent you well at home and on the national level.
Ms. McCormick,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Our final closing statement is Mr. Rainwater. Go ahead, sir. 90 seconds.
First of all, thank you to everyone for being here this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to debate. I believe it's important. I appreciate each of you watching this evening. I'm just an everyday average Hoosier. I did not serve in the Indiana General Assembly or the U.S. Senate. I have not been the superintendent of public instruction. I'm just a hardworking Hoosier who is sick and tired of watching the federal government, the state government, and local governments run by Republicans and Democrats take more and more of my money and your money, and it goes out the window or out the back door, and there's no accountability, and there's no change. And it doesn't matter who gets into office. There's no disruption of the status quo. Folks, I'm a libertarian.
You're in a party.
I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't have anybody pulling my strings or giving me large campaign donations in order to make sure that I do things their way. There is no Hope Inc. or Make It Red behind me. So I'm asking for your vote, because I'll go in and I'll disrupt the system, and we'll get an Indiana that makes everybody.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, they cut him off.
Politics special.
And we want to thank our affiliates from around the state as well who joined us. You can find
God,
video
that
of the
debate
full debate
sucked.
tonight on WishTV.com. Have a great rest of your night.
Focus on family.
All right, that's very clever. All right, very clever. Anyway, all right, let's break this down a little bit because this was a giant mess. This was terrible. It was awful. It was boring. I want fireworks. I want violence by words. Not threatening, of course, but Braun was very lackluster. McCormick did the usual buzzword and talking points, and Rainwater was very lethargic. He didn't have that 2020 energy anymore. And I said it at the beginning of this thing when I first started the stream. I'm a little bit worried that he, after I watched him debate Rob Kendall, that this was going to continue on. I was hoping that this was just going to be a flub. Turns out, not so much. He wasn't prepared like he normally is, and I don't know what was going on. I mean, you've had quite a long time to figure out exactly what you wanted to say, to time everything. I mean, this is where the libertarians should be striving, because you have this blue versus red thing, and then the libertarians are just going like, yeah, but they didn't take advantage of it. All right, so let's break this down real quick about the property taxes, and all three of them. We're talking about it, obviously. Hold on, I'm gonna lower my voice thing down for some reason. It's peaking. There we go. All right, so federally, this is the whole problem. Started with it federally when you're printing more money, and I think we've printed more money than we did in like the last 100 years or something, in the last couple of years, than we have in the last 100 years. And you're giving it to other countries. You're giving it to Ukraine, especially. They're well over $100 million. And now FEMA's saying that it won't have enough money if there's another hurricane, because they just gave another 60 bill or however much it was to Ukraine. And then another part that people don't talk about, too, is all these corporations buying up homes, single-family homes, and then artificially raising the property tax, because they're not just buying them at what they're asking, they're buying them more what they're asking because they have the money to do it. And so now everybody's property taxes are getting right. I think that it's actually on the downflow now, but even though mine went up like $150 back in July, but it wasn't because of property taxes. It's because they're anticipating the property taxes go up, which I'm not, and I still got to give them a call about that. Still haven't, but and let's not forget too is that another reason why the property taxes are going up are because of the illegals coming in, and then these nonprofits, these NGOs, these places like Exodus Refugee that are. And I'm primarily talking about rent with rent/property taxes on this, and people like Exodus Refugee, where they're giving them a furnished apartment, where they're giving them $400 a month, on top of the federal government giving them $2,200 a month, and on these EBT cards. And not only that, they're also getting free public education, free health care, and in a lot of cases, they're getting a driver's license when they absolutely have no idea what's going on. I encourage people to come down to Marion County and see how these third worlders drive. They do not know what the hell is going on the streets. And when you bring in that kind of immigration, don't forget you're filling those low-wage jobs, and some people, like McCormick, were saying, it's like, oh look, we're bringing in $4 billion a year. Well, okay, now add that on top of the stress on the school system, stress on the hospitals, stress on everybody else, and now this is also a big reason why all your insurance rates are going up too, because these people don't have insurance when they get in car crashes. And now you're filling up those lower jobs with low-wage people, and then the people that would have normally taken them are getting that would actually be able to support a family. Now the illegals/migrants are getting paid peanuts for it. And the abortion thing, Braun should have hit McCormick with the "where is your line at" when you talk about abortion, because right now I believe it's 12 weeks for any reason. In Indiana, and then 22 or 23 weeks in the case of rape or incest. And Braun and Rainwater should have been asking McCormick, hey, do you want on-demand abortion? And and I'm sure she'll say like, well, it's up to the woman, it's up to the doctor. It's like, no. I'm asking you. I want your opinion. Where is your line at? Where is your moral line at? And for some reason, they didn't want to ask about that. Total missed opportunity. And then obviously the education. Listen, I said this last night. Parents need to do their job. It's literally that simple. Teachers are not there to watch your children. They are there to teach. They are not there to raise your children, discipline their children. One could say even feed your children. That's up to the parents' job. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Oh, and by the way, I did say I was going to bring this up. So back earlier this year, there was something that I thought was very interesting. So yeah, there it is.
Our primary.
Hold on. Can I raise this up? All right, there's that. Boop, 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 boop. Hold on. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
Role and responsibility is as a charter school authorizer. Charter schools, so that everyone knows, are public schools that are managed by nonprofit entities. The charter refers to the contract between the authorizer, which is in this...
And blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you can go to the Indianapolis media place on February 20th of this year. Now, this is why I say this is important, because he talks... One of the questions was, do charter schools, from the city councilors, do charter schools take away money from public schools? And the answer was, a school... depending on the students, you're getting that amount. So it's not that charter schools are taking away money from public schools. It's that the kids are going to a charter school, so the public school is not getting that money because you're getting the money from the child. So imagine a child as a dollar bill. Imagine, close your eyes, imagine this thing, that that child is a dollar bill. So instead of that child going to a public school, it's going to a charter school. So one could say, oh, they're taking money away from public schools, but no, the money is based on the child. Not that they're taking funding away. Plus, public education is still like over half the state's budget, and that just needs to be cleaned up big time. My superintendent of Wayne Township gets paid $300,000 a year, on top of stipends, on top of insurance and everything else. Total bullshit. And what is his claim? How well is he doing? Well, we're like 30 or 40% of reading proficiency and math proficiency in Wayne Township. Bullshit. It starts up there. If he can't do his job, get him out. We need to be more results driven. That's it. It's that simple. Hey, I pay you to do this job. How well is the job doing? Well, what's our claim of mission accomplished? How do we judge it? How do we test it? How do we figure out if you're doing a good job or not? Mr. Butts? Yeah, Jeffrey Butts. Jeffrey Booty. Butthole. And let's not forget, competition is good. You can't have a monopoly over everything, because then what happens? The monopoly doesn't give a damn anymore. They say, hey, guess what? What other options do you have, Mr. Taxpayer, Mrs. Taxpayer, or Miss or Mr.? And this is something that people aren't talking about enough. Guess who's really bringing down the public education system, the math proficiency, the reading proficiency? Non-English learners. So now you have this problem where the students, the kids, they don't even understand what you're saying. They don't know, they can't read what you're saying. They don't know basic math, mostly because they come from third world countries, and now they have a lot of catching up to do. Hey, at this age, you should know this. Well, guess what? They only knew, I'm not going to say, but they only knew so much. And if you can only know so much, what are you supposed to do? But you know what? There are a lot of these places, I don't know about in Indiana, but definitely in other places, they're giving them passing grades anyway. Get them out. Hey, you know what? Let somebody else deal with it. Kick the can down the road. Absolutely disgusting, but, that's how the system is right now. We used to be a functioning, proper society, but then we had to worry about everybody's emotions and how they felt about things. Oh, God, it makes that person sad. It doesn't make me feel good when you're yelling at me because I'm a big dum-dum. Well, do better then. I'm not talking about the parents. I'm talking about the parents, because the parents are the biggest issue here right now. And, of course, my favorite is weed. the wacky tobacco, the Mary Jane, the electric lettuce. It's dumb. First off, I could not care less about it. I think if you go and look at all the states, because it has only really been legalized recreationally for like 10 or 12 years. I think Washington was the first state to do it. And you look at that shithole. Look at the cost of living. Look at the crime. Look at the taxes. Look at the insurance, homeowners insurance, car insurance. And you take a place like Portland or something. Here, this is just real quick. This was Data Pandas. Have no idea. I've never heard of this site before, but I was in a hurry. Look at the cost of living compared to other states. Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, California. Hey, this is what will happen if you legalize weed, by the way. Look at the states that have legalized weed. New York, Massachusetts, the East Coast. Point proven. If you want to legalize weed, prepare to be paying so much more in taxes and so much more in everything. Look at Hawaii. I mean, obviously it's an island, but all these places that have legalized weed recreationally, everything goes up in price. If there's anything to make out of all of this, you will be paying more because you need to cope more, because you can't control yourself, because I'm having a bad day. I guess I need to have myself a joint because I don't know how to control my emotions. Go for a run. All right? It's literally that simple. Go touch grass. Go outside. Just knock it off. And then all the studies too about psychosis or just making people lazy. And someone made a good point about this. A state senator made a great point. If you're spending your money on weed, guess what you're not spending your money on? Probably groceries, probably your bills, probably gas. And then what happens? Oh, you know what? I just need to make more money. Listen, I just want to live this whole degenerate lifestyle of smoking weed, coming, and watching anime and collecting Funko Pops or playing with Legos if you're some balding dipshit boomer. And what the biggest issue is with weed is that it doesn't solve anything. And you can say about opioids, oh, well, you know what? Weed is better than opioids. It's another coping mechanism because of whatever your problem you're having with. And it's not just about pain management. Sure, sometimes it could be pain management, and you can make the case that it could be done recreation or medicinally. But guess what? That will get weaponized very, very fast. Oh, my eyes hurt. Glaucoma. Oh, I have joint aches. Okay, so if you go to whitmerforindy.com/420, you will see my weed plan. I had a think tank idea. If we were to make a legalized medicinal Mary Janes, what kind of safeguards could we put in there so it wouldn't get completely out of control? Because once it starts, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Go ahead and look around. It was just an idea because Ohio, they had their ballot initiative for killing babies and legalizing more degeneracy, and the tax money from the Mary Janes would go actually to fund the police, which is hilarious. So damn funny. But you can go on there if you want to, if it'll help you ease your little mind. So on top of that, when they were talking about lowering government, did you notice that McCormick was not about having less government? She was like, well, just these departments need to figure out. No, they're going to bring in more people so they can figure out how more efficient we can be with government. How about we start cutting more government, like immediately? Let's get rid of the IADC. Listen, I will go in there with a jackhammer. I'll go in there with a giant sledgehammer, and I will take it down brick by brick. What we need more of is oversight on NDOT. All these garbage projects, how much money are they spending on them? Why are these bids like 2 or 3 times more than what you originally did, what you originally estimated for? It's garbage. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be oversight. And most importantly, we need to get people fired. No more. Blackball them too. Not just the people that are in charge, but also the companies. Hey, you said this project was going to cost $10 million. Now it's $30 million. Guess what? You're never going to get a state contract again. Piss off. And make sure if they try making another company to try and go around it, we keep names. We will never let this happen again. We need accountability. And I will do it. I'll be the NDOT czar with you 2024. And then when we talk about affordable housing, let's not. It was basically what I just said before. It was Exodus, people like Exodus refugees, all these NGOs. You know, they're bringing all these migrants and they're giving them money. And when you talk about the rentals of why rent is so high, it's because not just because of property taxes, but also because these apartment owners know that they're getting money. They already know they're getting money, just like colleges, just like other things. What they're federally funded is that, well, I'm already getting money off of it. I'm getting free money. I'm just going to raise the price off of it. And when I stop making the amount of money that I do, then I guess I'll lower the price for everybody else. And then when you have these people in Marion County that say, oh, we're going to build affordable housing units and it'll be this amount, but you can only make this amount. Guess who has to pay for the extra amount? The other people that are not in affordable housing units. And, you know, you could see this right now that's happening over by me on the south side. There's like something on Morris and Meridian. I forgot what the name of it. But it's like these 800 square feet apartments, maybe 700 or 800 square feet apartments that are like $1,300 or $1,400 a month. Are you shitting me? That's crazy. Man, I remember being I know I'm going to sound like a boomer, but in my day, but it was actually like 7 years ago, probably not even that, more like 5 years ago, apartments were less than $1,000, and you can still get a 1 or a 2-bedroom apartment in Hamilton County even. But now it's like, good luck, you're living in the shoebox for the same amount. It's just complete bullshit. And you want to know how to solve a lot of this stuff? I'm talking about property taxes. I'm talking about housing. I'm talking about inflation. Well, there's two reasons for inflation, but you have to deport. You have to deport the people that are sucking off the government tit. And you need to stop wasting government money, obviously, but that's going to be a lot harder. Same thing with getting rid of these migrants that are an absolute blight to society. And increase the cost of living, obviously. And the last thing I'm going to talk about real quick are how bad journalists are. Oh, also I found this. I forgot to tell you. Look at that. See, I told you. When I asked old Chucky Harrison, what did I say? The donut counties don't have the same black and brown population as Indianapolis. What are you trying to say, Chucky? Huh? And I'm obviously not gonna. The question about how do we prepare the blacks and the browns for the workforce? I'm not even gonna bring about that because I'm not a racist. First off, I am just a cute and sweet little boy. But earlier today, I asked Indianapolis Capital Chronicle about why they weren't. If I can find it. Oh, crap. Don't worry, I'm going to find it. Because I asked why. Oh, there it is. I said, you are missing most of Marion County, which is true. It's like missing 11 districts. And it's like, we choose the top 20 state legislative races from all around the state. And what did I say? Top 20. Also, on top of that, that means they're protecting people. They don't want to question anybody. They don't want to question Justin Moed, people like Robin Shackelford, people like Blake Johnson, all those people. Because there's also a couple of them, like it would make more sense if they didn't have an opponent. Yeah, that's fine. Don't interview them. But when they do have an opponent, you have an obligation to interview these state candidates. Indiana Capital Chronicle, and this is their voter guide, is complete garbage. Same thing with Mirror Indy, same thing with IndyStar, same thing with Axios and Indiana State Affairs. Indiana State Affairs and Indiana Capital Chronicle came from a leftist think tank in D.C. And then Mirror Indy isn't far off either. They're like a combination of all these garbage institutions, and they're not even really journalists. They're more like activists. It is just a damn shame we're just over a month until the general election, and none of these garbage journalists have interviewed people in Marion County for State House, or even Senate for half that. It's an absolute crime of what they're doing. But you know what? Eventually, they're going to get theirs, because they're just going to be like Indy Star. Yeah, speaking of Indy Star, they're just going to be like that, where nobody takes them serious. If you go through the Mirror Indy articles, it's just them talking about activist stuff. Oh, poor me, what's going on here? And a lot of the stuff that they talk about can be debunked anyway. And this is why you do not hate the media enough. You do not hate local media enough. You don't hate legacy media enough. These people, like especially Mirror Indy, as like, this is your job. You're focused on Indianapolis, and it is an election year. There are multiple people running for state office, and you haven't interviewed any of them, which is bananas to me. Doesn't make any sense. But I'll tell you what, if you want to, what is it? I know that I tagged some people on there. Yeah. This is their Twitter handles. If you want to go over there and you want to talk shit to them, please do, actually. Never stop talking shit to them either, until they get the point that they should be doing their job of journalism. But they don't, because they're all protecting the regime. They're all protecting these garbage Democrats that have been in there for a long time that shouldn't be questioned, because Republicans are the big bad wolf. More Republicans. And it's just embarrassing. And I can't wait when I'm at the Bates Hendricks thing on Monday. I know I'm going to get like a minute or two to speak, but I will kind of I probably won't have a chance to bring that up. I'm hoping that someone asks me about it. I'm going to have to weasel it in there somehow. But now that the debates are over, everybody already kind of knows who they're voting for anyway. Basically, if you want Indiana to turn into a shithole like California, go ahead and keep voting Democrat. We've already had over 8,000 people leave Indianapolis, and these aren't low-wage workers. These are probably people making over $150,000 to $200,000, maybe even more than that, and they moved over to outside counties like Hendricks, Johnson, and what's the other one? Hamilton. And guess what? They're just spreading their liberal cancer over there. Hamilton County is not too far away from turning blue, and Johnson County's probably got 5-7 years away. Thankfully, Johnson County's still a little bit rural, and you have all the industrial areas kind of like preventing that, so they're taking the back way in through Bargersville and on the east side of Johnson County. That's what the outside of Center Grove area anyway. But just ask yourself, do you want every city to turn out like Indianapolis, a giant shithole, high taxes, but the police leaving because they don't trust their mayor, they don't trust their prosecutor, they definitely don't trust the courts? You arrest somebody multiple times and nothing gets done? Is that what you want for every city in Fishers, Nowheresville, Greenwood, Avon? Avon, man, I can't believe how much of a shithole Avon is. You ever go to a Walmart over there? Holy shit. It's like if you want to judge on what place is good, go to their Kroger. Because that's where you're going to see where, like, Speedway Kroger is terrible. The the border of Indy and Avon Kroger is horrible. The Kroger in Greenwood is getting really bad, too. I don't know why, but it's like the rule. If you want to see how bad the area is, just go to the local Kroger and you'll see. But that's all I got. Everybody's leaving the chat, so it's already over. So until next